9/11 terrorist attack, the Syrian warfare, Afghanistan civil war, Indo-Palestinian conflict, as well as the growing tensions in the East. 20th century has known a lot of war as well as which has followed in the 21st century. Today we are going to talk about violence versus non-violence. Russian author Leo Tolstoy narrated a very interesting story to Mahatma Gandhi. The story goes like this, that there was a priest who was quizzing some school children about the 10 commandments. When he reached the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," all children answered and were very curious. The priest asked the children, "Do you think it is all right to kill according to commandments?" So the children replied, "Yes, perhaps it's all right to kill, like they say everything is fair in love and war. Or perhaps it is all right to kill under legal circumstances." So the priest was very happy and he said, "Yes, that's the right answer." However, there was one girl sitting in the corner and she got up and she flushed with anger and she said that killing is wrong under all circumstances. So the priest applied all his knowledge to convince the girl otherwise, that perhaps sometimes it is possible to kill, it is circumstances can lead us to killing. But the girl was very adamant and she said, "No, no, no killing under any circumstances. In fact," she said, "Jesus Christ has not only forbidden us to kill, but he has also gone ahead to tell us that we shall do no harm to others." In the end, the girl was victorious. Leo Tolstoy very proudly narrated that how the girl was a winner in the end. To amplify the words of the Buddha, who has said, we have to kill the will to kill. Killing is wrong under all circumstances, and especially in the name of religion or even in war. The 20th century has shown us that millions of lives were lost in the 20th century. And humanity has learned absolutely nothing, and we continue to make the same mistakes as our predecessors. The 21st century we have witnessed endless killing and warfare. To talk about this subject, we have with us today Atul Kumar, who is a leading faculty in political science from Mumbai University. He has travelled around the world studying, engaging in dialogues, writing and discussing dialogues with political leaders, forging links across the world and spreading the message and network of non-violence. Thank you, Atul Kumar, for coming on Sara. She is just like you.
Thank you, Sara.
So first, I would like to ask, that the 20th century saw a lot of killings. Millions of people died in the 20th century. So what is the lesson, that we have in the 21st century, we have learned from our predecessors in the 21st century, so that we avoid, the mistakes made by our, people? How can we avoid the mistakes made by, our predecessors?
Honestly, we have not learned any lesson. And we have history of wars between nations, right from Iran, Iraq, Vietnam. We have 2 world wars in last century, and if you really look at the beginning of new century, it's 17 years, and we have a series of wars going on. Entire Middle East is burning. There is a very strong probability of war being arise between US and North Korea. There is warlike situation between China and Japan. South China Sea disputes are there. So I don't see we have actually learned anything from the last century. All violence, thousands of people have been killed. It's very sad, but there's no learn. Human being is blessed with the capacity to think. But we actually really not think towards the society, for the social development, a global society which can create a very peaceful society. There is no dimensional thinking on this. I remember Tolstoy had said, "Stop behaving like children. Humanity must grow up." Human society is really not growing up. That's actually an area of concern. Look at every nation. Within their capacity, they are trying to strengthen their firepower. Nuclear testing, adding up hydrogen bomb, nuclear bomb in their arsenal. And small countries like North Korea, Pakistan is increasing its number of nuclear bombs. So, is it really any direction towards growing up? No. In US, especially New York, people are allowed to carry guns for self-defense. Recently, a massacre happened, which is done by a person who was carrying his gun. He went in a hotel and from there he fired where a music program was going on. Many people died on the spot. So, strengthening with arm is not actually going to help the society. Dr. Daisaku, a leading thinker and philosopher, advocates disarmament. Recently, 183 countries agreed for a nuclear pact, treaty they have signed, no nuclear test, kind of. 44 countries are still not signing and they have nuclear technology with them. So we can see and have some ray of hope that these all countries get united and come to a common conclusion that there should not be any nuclear testing or proliferation of nuclear bomb. All we can hope. Spiritual leader Jasai Toda has said, we must overcome disregard to human life. What he suggests that all countries who are having nuclear bomb or heavy conventional warfare power have no regards to human life. See, a press of a button of a nuclear bomb and millions of lives can go off. How sad it is. So, his efforts is to sensitize the human society, and technology should be used for human development, not for the human destruction.
Martin Luther King Jr. has said that a person who is a victim of violence, most often than not, his spirit is burnt with revenge. His spirit is burning and splintered with powerlessness and frustration. His spirit is blistered with fire for revenge. His spirit is burning with humiliation. His spirit is shrunk with feelings of inferiority complex. He is facing powerlessness and frustration. So a person, for that matter, who is, or a group of people who are victims of communal riots or who have, been victims of a genocide or war, is it possible for them, to react or respond with reconciliation, forgiveness, or, respond with compassion?
Yes, compassion is the only way out. Peace is a battle actually worth winning. You must have heard about the story of King Asoka. He conquered the world, a very ruthless king at one point of time. But then after realization, he became ambassador of peace. And then he ruled peacefully and all his peace message. In fact, he spread a religion called Buddhism. He followed Buddhism and he took it to various countries. Mahatma Gandhi has said that if it was possible during Asoka's time, it is possible now also. Only thing we need a strong will to create a non-violent society. Jawaharlal Nehru has said that answer to a bomb is not a bigger destructive bomb. The only answer is the bomb of compassion.
Atulya, we are talking about violence and war across the world. But what about strained relations between India and Pakistan? A Chinese proverb goes, where it says that no matter how many enemies we may have around the world, one must always maintain friendly relations with one's own neighbors, because that's the way we belong to. So one must always maintain friendly relations with neighbors. So what can you say about strained and destructive relations between India and Pakistan?
Actually, you are correct. We cannot change our neighbor as we cannot change our geography. And Pakistan is our neighbor and it will remain forever. A relationship between India and Pakistan is nothing to be much talked about. But why this relationship? And how we can bring peace between the two nations is a subject, and there we should exercise all our practices of human development. Look at the history. In post-independence, we have fought 3 wars. Still, there is no decision, there is no peace. We have the similar relation. Sometimes the degree of fight between two nations varies, but the situation more or less remains same. So why? And at the same time, the fact remains that we are same by race. We have cultural similarity. We come from the same cultural background. We have a similar religious following also. The kind of religion living in Pakistan, similar religious people are our citizen also. So means we were one country. Now we are divided to two, but rest all of the belief, values and cultural similarities are there. Still we are fighting. The leadership of Pakistan and India have made several efforts to reconcile, come to a conclusion. Their dialogues, post-war, pre-war, nothing worked out. But I am very hopeful that when Germany can reunite, East Germany, where East Germany became one, we can also reunite, and that would be the best solution. I am hopeful that any Otto I Bismarck will come to either of these countries, be it Pakistan or India, and will take us to the next level, that is united country. But yes, for that again we need very deep compassion.
History has shown us, that wars are fought due to religion. Whether it is in the Far East Asia, where the priests use people's money and exploit people's faith and use that money to go to geisha girls and lead a very indolent and corrupt life. Likewise, in the European countries, in the Western countries, the priests and people who are supposed to be revered, bishops, they use people and convert them, and non-believers are exploited and completely go through a lot of persecution.
Yes, actually the purpose of religion is to inculcate all human values, good values, belief, moral values to the human society. Ironically, there is a long list of atrocities being done by religious leaders, as you are mentioning correctly, the priest of East, then even in Christian religion, Hindu religion, that Sati Pratha, and lot of prathas are there, were there in existence. These all were what? They all were religious atrocities, and being done by priests of respective religion for their own interest, for their own dominance, or whatever their intention may be. But at least all I can say is it was not correct for the human society. Besides this, because the question is, can religion contribute to the development of human society? Yes, of course. But for that, religious leader should be selflessly help the society, should develop every citizen of society by creating a values, so that he makes himself so independent and a contributor to society, a propagator to human evolution. All, and they should not be radicalized the way radicalizing people diverting them towards militancy. And then all that is happening in the name of religion. And it is present in every country, every society. Assume that Muhammad Sahab, Guru Nanak, Jesus, and the spiritual leader of maybe Hindu society, Valmiki or whosoever, if they sit together for a conference, what would have been their take? Obviously, they would propagate the law of non-violence, law of peace, and how to create a society which is violence-free. So that is the platform where religion can contribute. And if religion is practiced honestly, it leads to only peace and harmony, because no religion teaches you violence.
There is, an interesting story about a mouse tower, which is told in one of the stories by the French author Antonio. He said, there was this priest who was very greedy, and one day in his country there was a lot of famine, and as a result people were dying. So what did he do? He called all the people and announced that he would give them food. So he announced all in the country, and people all over the country came and assembled in the barnyard. And what did this cruel priest do? He burnt them alive. And then, laughingly and ridiculing these people, he started telling them, see now, hear the mice squeaking. To which actually what happened, that there were a group of mice who came and they chased the priest. And the priest was running and trying to save himself. He said that if he goes to a tower in the middle of the island, there nobody would come. But actually the mice swam through the island, through the water, and they went and they devoured him. They killed the priest.
Well, Sara, your story is a fictional one. But yes, this is a very honest fact. Political leader, spiritual leader, or business community, because these are three very powerful group of people. They actually lead to all kind of social evil, I will say. So if these three people keep on exploiting people, trust me, nature is not going to forgive them.
So Mr. Atulya, what do you think, what are the practical steps that people, government and the world leaders should take in order to curb violence, or for that matter, our dialogue between us is going to go down in history. So what lesson that would our children and the youth of the world should follow as a means for resolving violence in the world?
See, a peaceful world is possible only we dedicate all our effort to develop every person of the community. As I recollect, Mahatma Gandhi has said, and the world's leading messenger of peace, non-violence, that any policy or decision should be made keeping in mind the poorest and the weakest person of society, and it should not be a political stunt or economic theory. Another area which I think can be very productive, the woman power of the world is very underutilized, and they can actually be utilized for the peacemaking, because they have very peaceful mind genetically. A beautiful woman like you can be a good messenger of peace. Look at one of the most violent king, Ashoka. His thought for peace and path of peace was actually paved by her wife, who brought him on the path of Buddhism, Adharma, and after that he became what kind of king you all know. He is propagator of Buddhism, and from a cruel king to transformation of a follower of peace and follower of dharma. So all this transformation was brought in by a beautiful wife. International Court of Justice and should be more active for working towards peace between nations. They should bring all stake when a war-like situation is there amongst countries. They should bring all the stakeholders to a dialogue table and tranquilize the matter before the war happens. And it is possible. Only thing they need very effective mechanism to approach and reach out all the people who are involved in. Spiritual leaders are a very important driver for peacemaking process. All spiritual leaders of the world should come together, talk about peace, propagate the law of non-violence. That is very, very important. And last but not the least, dialogue is the most important tool to resolve all sorts of issues between individual as well as between the countries. So we should always adapt the theory of interaction, having a very peaceful dialogue for the resolution of any problem. Look at India and Pakistan. Again, I will quote the same example. We have fought 3 wars, and after end of all the wars, finally we sit for dialogue and discussion that how we are going to resolve that issue. Even from international community, international or diplomatic pressure is on our country to restart the dialogue, because there is increasing tension at the border between India and Pakistan. So even pressure is coming from opposition within our country and from international forces also, that both the countries should start engaging in dialogue. So what is dialogue? Dialogue is nothing but creating a common ground of understanding where both can understand each other's issue and have a peaceful resolution to it.
Very rightly said. In fact, I feel that dialogue for peace starts with dialogue, and honest dialogue and humble dialogue with one's own self. There should be role reversal. Countries should sit together and do a role reversal, empathize with each other and generate mutual trust, because essentially I feel dialogue for peace begins with one's honest and peaceful and humble dialogue with one's own self. One has to dive into one's own nature, into one's own conscience, and bring out that kind of courage and wisdom to be able to deal with differences and to be able to resolve disputes. Like for example, I feel that flames of hatred can be doused with flood of dialogue and mankind can be enriched. Thank you, Atulya, for coming and enlightening all of us on various subjects related to peace. I'm sure that our dialogue and our interaction will go very far and continue to inspire many, many people.
Thank you, Sara. Thank you very much. This is mine.
The future is determined by the determination and the pledge of the people today. Today, if we decide that we do not want violence, today if we muster up courage to hold dialogue, today if we gather strength to listen to what we don't want to listen, today if we are able to control our desire for revenge and channelize that anger towards greater good, then I'm sure the future will applaud our determination and our actions. To draw an analogy of the moon, long ago it was considered an impossible dream to send a human being on the moon. However, with the right vision, planning, will, skill, science, technology, resources and the right kind of training, it was possible to send human beings on the moon. A similar thing can happen when we, the people in the civil society, when all of us can galvanize and can collaborate with NGOs, government, to create a people's movement, a grassroots movement, and approach the powers, international community for a nuclear-free, violence-free and hatred-free world, then I'm sure we all of us can galvanize the international community towards a world of solidarity, peace, where there will be a world without war, a war-free world. Do subscribe to Sara, she is just like you. Give us your comments and stay connected and be happy.